We're going to do this segment for you with Ark, with the famous Harold the H. Peacock. It's good that you're listening. Evie, your dad's a great bloke. He's a champion. We miss him up here in Queensland, as we do Tracy. Now, 8:13, let's talk to Harold the H. Peacock.
Hey, Danny, how you going?
Oh, he's there.
He's there.
I'm here already.
Mate, you're on fire. Say hello to Alistair. Say, g'day, Cookie.
Hey, Cookie, how you going? Great, you're listening.
Yeah, now listen, you got the book Dover Court. Toowong's...
Yeah, that's right.
Eh?
Yeah, look, it's the Dover Court Toowong's hidden history and the people live there. But
mate, hold on. That phone is playing up now.
No, you're playing up. You rang the wrong phone, Danny. I told you that.
Yeah, okay, that's all right now. Wherever you're standing now, tell us now, Dover Court, Toowong's hidden treasure and its people. You've written this book, but today you're talking about the Ipswich world record holder, because we are the centre of the universe here.
Absolutely. All roads lead to Ipswich. And it starts, in this case, with Martin Snelling, who was 19 years old in 1909 when he became the youngest licensed auctioneer in Australia. And he came from good stock. His grandfather was Arthur Martin, who was a Queensland government auctioneer back in colonial times, and he was good mates with William Groom, who was the inaugural mayor of Toowoomba, you probably know, and was the first and only transported convict to ever sit in an Australian parliament.
Wow.
And the grandfather sold the Morningside estate of Booval in 1887 and the Liverpool estate in North Ipswich in 1888, amongst heaps of others. Now, Martin Snelling's father was Colonel Walter Henshaw Snelling.
Was his name Smelling?
Snelling.
Oh,
so, yeah, almost. But he was one of the founders of the Queensland Defence Force following the withdrawal of the British garrison in 1870. And in 1877, the Colonel commanded the 350 Queensland Rifle Volunteers who assembled at the Ipswich Showground in the first ever mass gathering of the Queensland military. So that would have been some sight. But Martin Snelling himself, the son, he was also in headlines. He played rugby union for Queensland, and yes, go Red.
Go the Reds! The Reds are playing rugby tonight! Keep going.
That's right, and they're also centre of the universe. Anyway, Martin Snelling also shot for Brisbane Grammar and won the Empire Championship. Now, Snelling was the best auctioneer in the state and opened his own cattle yards at 1 Mile here at Ipswich.
Yeah.
The opening speech, of course, was given by the then Ipswich Mayor, Alfred Tully Stevenson, and ask Paul Tully if he's related to that mayor.
Yeah, I will.
I'd be interested to know that. Yeah, but Snelling made headlines around the world in 1926 when he set the world record for cattle auctions up in the Burnett. Now, in one day, he sold on his own over 7,000 head of cattle in just 4.5 hours. Now, Danny, to give you an idea of how many cattle that is, when they were walked into the yards, the herd was 10 miles long. So it's a huge amount for one guy to sell on his own, this Ipswich auctioneer. And so Martin Snelling was an even better auctioneer than his famous grandfather. That's because in the 1860s, the grandfather tried and failed 3 times to auction the historic home Dover Court. The only way his grandfather could sell it was to convince his son-in-law to buy it. And that son-in-law was Colonel Snelling, who, of course, was our Martin Snelling's father. So next time, Danny, you're down at 1 Mile, remember the world record auctioneer Martin Snelling, who once had his sale yards there. But also, when you're passing Toowong, remember that the 1 Mile auctioneer's father, Colonel Snelling, that's with an N, Snelling, owned the historic house there for 20 years back in the 19th century. So, Danny, like you said, Ipswich absolutely is the centre of the universe.
And this radio station, we actually play one great song in a row. No. So it's 8:17, mate. I love your stories.
Oh, dear.
So we have a world record auctioneer was from this town, a world record holder.
He had his yards out at 1 Mile. That's right.
Yeah, and what?
And his biggest herd was 10 miles long.
10
That's an
miles
unbelievable
long.
sale.
And and Dover Court, he had something to do with Dover Court, which you've written
his father owned it for 20 years.
Yeah, mate, unbelievable. Well, you know, once again, I'm getting text messages from my mate Alistair McCook down there in Ocean Grove. His daughter absolutely loved being mentioned on the radio. Tracy's already out running, training for the Noosa Half Ironman Triathlon. Mate, and he loves your stories. He said, tell Harold, this is what he said, tell Harold the... Peacock, I love his stories. So, Harold, how can we get a copy of this book and listen, and all your stories you talk about Ipswich, how can we get those?
That's right. Go online to historyoutthere.com and you get the stories and the book Dovercourt right there.
Saturday the 8th of May 2021 on No Jocks Day and Socks Day. No Socks Day, sorry, but I forgot to bring my jocks. And World Red Cross Day. Big shout out to everybody listening. Harold, your stories, you're a world record researcher. You are unbelievable. And thanks for being part of this very highly intelligent program at 8:18 on West. Yes,
I was going to say, just before we let Harry go.
Zach, you're from New South Wales. You have nothing to say.
No, that's exactly what I was getting at. Because I've only been here, 4 years or so, it's always nice to come in and get a history lesson.
He is brilliant. And we'll be giving you 20 questions. If you don't pass them, we'll send you back to Chestnut.
We'll be testing.
You'll be going back to Chestnut.
Especially after the rugby result tonight. We'll be testing you then. That'll be a good result.
The Reds versus the Brumbies. I'm going, and they've even got a car park underneath Lang Park tonight, thanks to Malcolm.